Well, it's not Christmas. Good evening, good morning. I have to stop doing that. I need something in that hand to hold. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It is 1 a.m. on the East Coast, 8 a.m. in Kiev, 3 p.m. in Tokyo, 10 p.m. in Los Angeles. These are the headlines of a rather interesting weekend of Western mainstream news from the BBC, watching the differences between MSNBC, NBC, ABC, and Fox News, the New York Times, the Washington Post. There were a couple of, and then direct sources, the mayor of Kiev, and their statements, Zelensky and his public statements, the statements from and out of the Kremlin and Putin himself. And if you've watched a couple of these this past week, in the wake of the State of the Union and the news cycle that we've had this week, my comments on Friday about when the Sunday morning talk shows, I'm going to know right away, were these live or did these go in the can in the traditional sense when they used to when there isn't a crowd? Well, old habits die hard. Now, I have been critical of who I always, when I was on air in talk radio, I called him up Chuck Todd. I was never a fan of his. I believe he is a Clintonista. He is a devout Democrat. His colors on NBC's Meet the Press for Sunday, March 6th, 2022. Boy, if anybody wants a no-fly zone more than Zelensky, it's up Chuck Todd. Defense experts, military experts, boy, and Nikki Haley. Oh, that we may have just seen the last time that she's allowed back on that set. Interesting comments, and again, NBC, wanting so critically to focus out of the State of the Union address because it was already built into their talking points for the show and their script, and the problems of Ukraine and the naysayers of the no-fly. Boy, having no-fly zone isn't going to work, and no-fly zone is going to escalate. But how do we know that? And the what do you say to the people who are against it? Well, they're right. Well, but they're not. It's not working. And Chuck Todd kind of showed himself there. And I'm sorry, we started YouTube jumping, and so NBC, and so that's where that started from. And let me hold on. Hi, I'm Scooter McGee. Find me on Facebook, Scooter McGee. Find me on Twitter, The Scooter McGee. And if you like what I'm doing, please share it. Please pass it along to your friends. Maybe your enemies. Because you said this will be worse than the upcoming super virus that's coming. As of 3/11/06, interesting numerology. 3/11/06. 3/11/2022. All Russian websites have to be off the global internet and have to have an RU. Standby for cyber attacks in the West and the United States. There's no other way. If you're giving deadlines now of 3/11, well, let's wait and see. The media, the notes are it's probably gonna get worse than the notes. Even this morning on Meet the Press with NBC, this is wow, you guys you're really setting the stage. If Kyiv falls now, will that be the end of the crisis? Will Vladimir Putin have had enough? Kyiv has fallen. Kyiv is falling. Kyiv is expecting in the next day it's going to fall. They kept backing it down to the last one was it's in danger. Now it's if Kyiv falls. That news cycle ran regurgitated 9 days down to where we are day 11. On the BBC. If the struggle in Ukraine continues, Ukraine, as being reported through the BBC News, points out that the only way Kyiv is going to fall, is if Putin drops all his bombs. Protests around the world are interesting to follow. The media is not paying attention to Russia. And as I mentioned a couple of times this past week, there had been protests from Prague, Russia. Okay, just calm down. That's immediate outside. But you had them in St. Petersburg and Leningrad and in Moscow. Reports on the internet, no wonder it's now going to be a big problem. Disinformation and misinformation, because if you report something out of the Russian narrative, well, hold on. Right now it's that narrative. What happens when it's another? Arrests, mass arrests, after mass demonstrations in 53 Russian cities. Continued questions about if there's going, well, stand by 311. Stand by 311. And it's only 3/6, that's 5 days. Journal reports also, if you are known media, and again, I was originally mentioning St. Petersburg and Leningrad and Moscow, 53 cities. By the way, the original approximation was maybe 4,000, 4,600. Well over 10,000 plus. 4,000 alone in Moscow. Out of that 1,400 in Moscow, over 1,000 in St. Petersburg, similar numbers coming out of Leningrad, but then the final number, why? Because there were mass arrests and the riot police and the secret, everybody's police. And I didn't know you were police, there was a lot of problems. Scooter Damas in predictions with the Conspiracy Keepers that you can also find out there. Just Google the Conspiracy Keepers, you'll find us. Predictions at the end of the December for the Deadpool and original prognostications on this. Go outside and look at the moon right now, 3/6. Oh, it's a little crescent. Yeah, new moon. The lunar eclipse, all kinds of come into play when time of war. I made the comment if there's any incursion, because the media was speculating on, 100,000 to 500,000 refugees. And I said, no. If there's any involvement, and I'm going to talk about that, the words they're using, Russian engagement, Russian maneuvers, war, crisis, siege, falling, the language is really being polluted because the journalists, you want a journal, sit in a room, in a corner, in bubble wrap, and write your journal. You're supposed to be reporting, not describing the horror and the emotion of the event as the crisis never before unseen since World War II. What kind of in journalism is that? That's pathetic. I made the comment, that if they're talking 100 to 100,000 to 500,000, well, no, it's 2 to 5 million. And they were talking about any activity. Well, the activity that we've seen in the multiple cities, in the way the pincer maneuver is being utilized because it is out of the Soviet Union textbook. It's funny because on the Sunday talking shows today, even though I pointed out, like every other night in the Planet of the Apes since we've been there, that Vladimir Putin is playing right out of the Soviet playbook. That would, while you were sharing intelligence and you were thanking the international community for coming together to vote on the condemnation of, he's doing this out of the playbook. Is Putin really a madman, and can he really hit the button? This is ABC News. Are you that retarded that you don't realize actually how the use and authorization to use nuclear weapons and the chain of custody and the chain of command and what has to be done? No, because you believed your own lies about the orange man bad with his finger on the button and was going to destroy North Korea. I'm hoping at some point there is a moment of reality where the media wait a minute, and or their heads are all going to explode like back in that what's Forsyth's first name? I forget. In Scanners, when his head blew. Not him. He made the guy's head explode. The Western mainstream media, with now the national gas average at over $4 a gallon. No, in how many states now? Again, I said the other day, did you notice that they started saying the gas average in 7 states? It's now up to 14. But we're not counting all 50 states. Is over $4. Could gas prices go as high as 6? When California and Los Angeles and San Francisco and Sacramento, have you seen the gas prices? New York, New Jersey, Miami, New Orleans, Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis, Denver. A lot of discussion on the tweet heard round the world, according to Upchuck Todd. What was that? Well, Lindsey Graham calling, yeah, bad idea. Well, what? Were you wanting someone to come on the show and just give them a bravo and a muffin and applaud them for... But what about a no-fly zone? It's a bad idea, Upchuck. If the media is asking, could we see gas prices at $6? We will see $150 today, the price now moving because the hedge funds, and they're going to blame the airlines. The airlines have been using hedge funds to budget the cost of their fuel costs over years, and we first learned that, if you were smart, after 9/11. And what happened? Oh, that's right. Forgot. Yes. Because, again, they think you're goldfish, and that's the only size brain you would. We'll tell you you're very busy, and here's a little food and a little entertainment. We gave you a little house. When the story broke, and I said, there are accounts that 200,000 people had evacuated out of Mariupol. And I said, guys, we got to need to slow down on this story because, well, there's an update. Well, that was 2 days ago. Yes. After 2 days of failed attempts to evacuate up to, well, then that leaves half, but the logistics of, yeah, well, it's not working. Oh, the story isn't working. Okay. Because Pentagon officials expect Kyiv to fall in a matter of hours. It's a danger and crisis, and overnight they're going to fall within a matter of hours. No, it's fallen. No, it's back. It's about to. It could happen in the next 24 to 72 hours. You've been saying that for 5 days now. Well, it's coming. Oh, it's coming. The misdirection is unbelievable. Especially if the rumors are true that Hillary Rodham Clinton and Michelle Obama are going to make a run for the White House in 2024. That just changed the game. Everybody's wondering what's going to change the news cycle to get it back on track and the environment. Oh, that's right. On Upchuck Todd's Meet the Press, it should just meet the prostitutes. There they. Calm down. Maripol, the evacuations. I'm not getting back on it. Okay. Alright, this is tough. Hold just. I got the urge to say something really stupid about chipmunk cheeks, and I'm just not in the mood. It will upset me. I don't think I gave the right number. So, if there's any incursion in the Ukraine regarding the refugees, because oh man, I went down 6 different rabbit holes really fast. If we've had the incursion, the convoy's there for a reason. It is strategic. It's logistical. There's other issues. Time out. Ceasefire. That's where we'll go. Forget F chipmunk cheeks here. All of these calls and demands and condemnation. George Carlin was right. I'm not going to say the P word, but the wussification of Americans. And it took a long time to get here, but even war, since Vietnam was the closest, yeah, we can use it to shape and mold, but for the West, and this was the, okay. You know, up until just days ago, life in the Ukraine was considered a first world country. Dangerous language being used on national and international media. Incredibly dangerous. Ground laying for more brickwork and repetition of the words until the cycles, till the difference between a shareholder and a stakeholder and what the... Oh, you didn't know that. We do. We know what's best for you. You don't. War because of just this right here, and talking and seeing. The lies are being exposed because everybody's got the phone. But seeing the truth is very bloody, and it's very ugly. And then they want to shape and mold about the emotion of the horror. War is god and awful. Our country hasn't been to war since World War II. They've masked it and covered it and sterilized it so to Western eyes. So that the West, when the East, or the North, or the South, or even in the opposition inside, talk about the horrors of humanities and the tortures and the crimes, all to neuter it to what we're seeing right now. A bunch of wussies who literally want to stay in their house with a mask on and have the government pay them, and are supporting a nation defending their rights while giving up ours. Well, that's whole part of the flip-flop as well, and part of the Hegelian dialect, and how to get them to do something they would never do. in a matter of less than 10 days. First 2 days, everybody said fake news, not true, disinformation. Well, in a week of rant again, we all think that, that's the arrogance, the Western arrogance. How do you, because they're doing it. I can step out of myself and see through their lens and how that this is how they would do that. So this is brilliant. Dimitri, blow the dust off the 1954 code books. We're going to throw them a left turn. Kids on the smartphones wouldn't be able to figure out how to break out the gun. We're going to need to build another computer to simulate and a village to put them in time so that they can learn to understand the hearts, the minds, and the souls. I joked earlier this week about, running a little secret war. Okay, it was very ugly and it was very bloody and it was very brutal. It was not beautiful, it was very brutal. And it's the horrors of war, but the purpose of everybody understanding, there's a little secret war guy. You stay out of here, somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna lose more than I. Because it got so extreme. And no one would do it. Okay, well, then we're gonna do this and handle it and we're done. It is the only way to overcome. In any war, there has to be an outcome. What you're willing to lose, and the expectation, first, that your enemy is willing to lose what you are. And then is it brute force? Is it smarts? Is it sensibility? It's, we're not going to be in a stalemate and a checkmate. No, no, no. This can never happen again. It can't happen on my watch. The never again is crap. It can never happen on my watch. Sorry, we have rules. So over the top. But the sanctions, no, we're not just, no, I'm sorry, the Brewski Accords did not allow for sanctions. Immediate, swift, extreme action immediately, now, if not sooner. Look at the time. The kids and the generation that are so overabsorbed with video games and virtual reality and doing all of this, seeing the horror and the reality of indiscriminate shelling, arguments of innocent victims. The only innocent casualty of war is the truth. It sure is shit. I almost said ship, Damon. You should call me. No, don't. Yes, you should call me. Seeing it all. And just the holy, it's war. It's god awful. It's the last thing you want. So you want to escalate this, because here's the new line. If you want to escalate this, you install a no-fly zone, and that's it. Now you have World War III, or the potential for World War III. Excuse me, if you haven't noticed, the world is watching the Ukraine, and we've already had the start of World War III. It's how are we going to proceed? First of all, in any command or control bunker, whether we're under fire or under peace or under siege, any of you up or down the line here in the trenches, ask how we are to proceed, are to immediately take your sidearm out, place it up to your temple, and give yourself a good cleaning. Just for the sake of others, so that we know that we can proceed without you questioning how can we proceed. You are in the soldier, you are in the trenches, and you will follow orders. No, we have to question them. We have to meet to build a coalition and working with our coalition partners. We need to come together as the Congress. We're going to have to pass a resolution. I really don't want to talk about the Russian cats. I know. You know, I said I really don't want to, which means I'm not going to. Gas will be higher than $6 a gallon. The national gas average, we should be at $5.59 by Memorial Day. It will certainly be, sorry, $4.99 if we're at 4 now. No. $5.35, $5.95. When it comes to the international community, dealing with Russia is complex. In dealing with these sweeping sanctions when it comes to economics and internet and yada yada yada, and we're dealing with it on a myriad of levels, including Ukraine. Well, yeah, we're dealing with it because Ukraine. It's not including. Ukraine is what brought us here to meet. Yes, Ukraine, the economy, and the climate. The climate. On Friday, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, and then spent Saturday and earlier today on the Sunday morning shows. Unavailable for comment, not comment. Let's re-roll the comment. Let's see what they said. First of all, the recent spike in gas prices are because of the crisis in Ukraine, and it's Vladimir Putin's fault. Oh, the other talking point is the supply chains. And it's Vladimir Putin's fault. As you know, in the State of the Union address, they got a key plug in that was still where their heads were for the speech and talking points. And as you know, and blah, 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 is a delay tactic. As you know, in the State of the Union address, President Biden, along with the international community, released 60 million barrels of oil from the strategic reserve from 30 different countries, 30 different participatory countries. 30 countries ponied up 60 million barrels of oil that 2 days ago we'd already run through as a nation. And gas prices soared when they released and authorized, met and gathered and discussed and voted and approved. That is a classic stall tactic and delay tactic to precondition the monkeys to behave and get ready for $6 a gallon gas by Memorial Day. I wish I had good news in here. I really do. And we don't. What now even the senior Pentagon officials and former heads of the NATO and yada yada yada. We're entering into Act 2. Oh, you mean it's theater, it's a play. They actually said that. We're entering into Act 2 and could see Soviet style of shelling and bombing. So you mean Act 2, now enter the Soviet mentality, the Soviet armaments, the Soviet methodologies. You mean because there was a playbook and maybe Putin found it? Or he'd been using it the whole time and now you're just realizing, hey, you know, this strategy, when we were kids and played Risk, it didn't work because the threat of it was done. You could sit across the board. You can't threaten you into not doing it. You gotta roll the dice. Meaning this might be not rigged, but certainly orchestrated theater. More shelling. The refugees. How many? And the cities that continue not to fall. In Kiev, we actually had a shotgun wedding today. Yes, even attended by the mayor, who, after presenting flowers and congratulations, asked if he could kiss the bride. They're getting married in the most intense shelling and destruction, and they're ready to surrender. Again, Ian Pennell continuing to harass Zelensky. Are you ready to leave yet? No. Stop asking. Go away. So again, when you're following the mayor on Twitter, and again, you can follow President Zelensky. Again, this whole Donald Trump is back on Twitter. I don't even believe that's him handling it. I think it's somebody else. I think it's a troll. I think it is, again, controlled opposition to put the bait out to see what the monkeys will hit on and then make them go behave accordingly. Even the BBC and New York Times and tomorrow morning's talking points on your drive to work or on your evening coming home tonight, we're now looking at no less than 1.5 million refugees. That's the game. 750,000 have entered Poland alone. Well, if they're reporting 1.5 million, that number's at 2. I still didn't get back to that, which is why I flipped back to here now. So if it was going to be 100,000 to 500,000, I made the comment if there's any activity, that number could be as high as 2 to 5 million. But if there's activity, it's going to be 5 to 10 million, because you're going to have, if there was that kind of activity out of the Soviet playbook and how it's just bomb and shell and bomb and shell and bomb and shell, have they given up? Bomb and shell and bomb and shell, and you don't have no, and nope, keep going. You're talking about potentially 1 million now, right now. If these numbers are correct, if we have 1.5 million refugees now, in 45 days, that's not even, no. All right, in 45 days, you have no less than 10 million refugees. You could have 5 to 10 million dead. The country's 40-some million. Half the population is reduced. A half of them fled and the other half died. Starvation, infection, COVID outbreak, shelling, sniper fire, dysentery, casualties of war. Not that crap you play on your video game. And no one wants to talk about that at the Pentagon and the State Department and the Council on Foreign Relations. Oh, they love talking about it and writing their white papers about it and wargaming scenarios out. It may now be happening, meaning it's coming globally. Ukraine is the test for this. Martial law in the Soviet Union. Wait till 3/11. Then let's see. And wow, Ukraine got Starlink. I hope Elon will assure that Starlink receivers are throughout Mother Russia. You're supporting, I'm supporting information being able to flow both ways. And not a third party telling me, that's not true, that's not true, stop reading that, don't do that, don't look at it, oh! Makes me skeptical. I'll bet you get a waitress here before Joe Biden could. Might be the old. I'm not going to say anything. The war gaming and the video gaming and not understanding the actual destruction catastrophic damage, loss of life. People don't get it. The glamorization and romanticization of war by media. The same ones now using the devastating moments of the horror as the bombs in the... I think we can fill all that in. We just need, we could see a little more of this in context instead of hearing your 20 seconds about the horror and the inhumanity. That line got used, remember, the Hindenburg. Run that. That's part of it. Black and white. So much of that type of history and the horror was captured, and not all of it, so much of it captured in film. Black and white. To many, kind of neutered it. And then the romanticization in Hollywood, and the super sensationalism and the hype. And again, through a very select prism, a very select lens, specifically used to massage, fear, and direct the masses. That's propaganda, which all sides are continuing to claim your propaganda is bad and ours is good, and gas prices. Everybody needs to be going after Governor Polis right now in the state of Colorado, and wherever state you are, you need to go after your governors and your legislators to immediately suspend your state gas taxes and your national gas tax. Because the only talk on any of the channels was potentially the idea of lowering gas taxes. Well, we're still going to keep you on the leash. Just may give you a chain link or two, but you're going to be on that leash. Immediately suspend the national gas tax. States, depending upon how much you've been skimming and where that skim's been going, you need to suspend the tax through the summer, through the driving season. No, and even if we turn the pipeline on, it would be years before. But if we get green energy and windmills and we put money into infrastructure, hey, the money we spent last year for State of the Union and how much infrastructure, we're going to need more COVID relief money because they spent all that COVID relief. We're going to need to give them ever more. Where did $1.9 trillion go? We need to give them more. Where did $1.9 trillion go? Dick Cheney, 9/11, but I had an uncomfortable press conference the day before, or I think maybe 2 days before. I forget where I was that day, but we lost a bunch of money, and the news cycle changed. And nobody really ever asked again where that money went. Okay, fair enough, nuke me. Where did $1.9 trillion go? White House says Congress and Psaki and the rest of the crack staff, more money. Oh, and the victim in Ukraine is not a female WNBA who cares while working. You brought drugs into another country? Are you high? Uh-huh. But the gender and the ethnicity, and you didn't remember, Midnight Express. Are you high? Well, it was a vape cartridge, and I didn't know that. Oh, no. I didn't know, and it was... You will not even take... I demand transparency and accountability from everybody else but me. What could become an international crisis regarding the American basketball star. Who? I attempted last night, since unplugged from the media, and okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to tell a story. This is bad. And then we're going to say goodnight. The headlines for tomorrow are going to be economic disaster because the Russian stock market was closed last week, impact sanctions, the announcement of the Russian government and all the internet and all the businesses and any of the trade partners. You have to immediately have a .ru. Somebody get GoDaddy on the phone. This should be fun. We have major economic ramifications now coming in with just the announcement of sanctions, having nothing to do with any of them being put into play. As again, the International Cat Foundation for Nobody Cares, announcing we're going to import cats and we're not going to let you display them and you can't show them, and we're going to demonize Russian cats because they're absolutely part of the reason why Vladimir Putin is so corrupt. Everyone who needs awareness and their group publicly condemning, you're pandering, you're part of the problem. Negotiate. You keep yelling out of one side of your ass that they're a madman, and out of the other side, negotiate. Somebody damaged you, and your repetition of naysayers, every war game computer, anyone who's ever played the game, anyone who's run any scenario and watched any battle of from the Spanish Civil War through World War I to World War II. Because Western arrogance, American ignorance and arrogance, the Russians, Soviets, and the Soviet mentality was a long time coming after the overthrow of the Tsars and where the Tsars led Russia. And that didn't happen overnight. Generations created the Soviets. The Soviets and the illusion with the West becoming partners in peace through trade negotiations and diplomats and yada yada yada. Maybe McCarthy was right. Talk about the camel toe under the tent. Communists, Soviets, they're good Russian people. They could be spies. Oh, you're spreading hate. No, I'm pointing out wait a minute. They weren't supposed to. Americans, Russians, Soviets, communists, were not supposed to get into government jobs and post offices and your Senate and your White House. Why? I didn't say that. Was that all a ruse? Al Qaeda, the list, CIA, from the I know. Shh. We can't defeat the enemy. They have to defeat themselves from within. Well, that's Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And then it's not Nietzsche. Sun Tzu, they're large, you're small. They're slow, we're agile. You use your weaknesses to your strengths as Sun Tzu. Fuck. See, I never went to prison, because if I'd gone to prison in Mafia, I would have read the book. Fuck. I don't think it's Nietzsche. That's why I'm not pulling the quote. Sterility of war. Nietzsche, I got tangented again. God. World War II, illusion. So, Marxism, Soviets, communists, infiltrating at the levels. But the continued want and need to negotiate making no sense. Here's where it gets creepier. Up Chuck Todd. But the rest of the crack staff insisting they're supposed to be reporters. They're journalists. They're telling their story and they're making their statement. bad idea. Their insistence that they know more and they know better, they understand. And when you bring on a guest, left or right of your ideology, pro or con of your ideology, to go over the top and insist that, but you no, but that won't work. It will work because of an international. See, you don't understand that. Yes, and then you hit one, you have to hit them all. See, that's what war is. You may have been wussified, but we're going to negotiate on the economy and Ukraine and the climate, and you can't negotiate. And what should scare all of you is the people who are wanting that. That's an enemy. And then now the revelations that Putin and President Xi, oh, they're chatty. They share because we're their common enemy. Very dangerous in the triumvirate, which is why we don't have one. No, you have the Gulden, you have the five, and there's a reason. Because the argument of the triumvirate is 2 against 1. And that leaves 2, and then I'm here alone, and where did my friends go? Took a while for that to happen, but that's how it works. So, those who are insisting that we heed President Zelensky's begging for a no-fly zone, you know what this is going to do. No, because it'll be different this time because we can negotiate and with the same. Wait a minute. You can't have a madman and negotiate. So I hope that you see through that and what this end game is. It is you having to go to green energy and controlling the strategic oil reserves as a whole, and strategic oil reserves being any oil anywhere around the world. And who should be allowed. Hey, let's bring up the funny one on Meet the Press. Don't you come from a state that has oil? Yes, but the regulations and the rules and the problems of, all of the rules and regulations. And so what? We're going to need more funding and money so that we can look into alternative and clean. Oh, another boondoggle. Another need for an emergency meeting for more money. Well, and we're going to have to, Poland, and we're going to give them planes, and we're not going to give them planes. And, well, if they use their planes, then we got to buy them new ones. And, well, how about NATO do that? How about these other 30 participatory nations you're so proud of? How about everybody pay 2% of their GDP, which is what they all agreed to do? Again, transparency and accountability. Pay your fair share. What is your fair share? Well, you guys agreed all to 2%. We didn't. You did. So, pony up the money. No, we'll get the good little slaves. We'll give them a reduction in the gas tax for a month or two, and then we'll skim that money and I find it bizarre that all of this is unfolding in the March launch window. I really thought this would play out in the spring. Because March is one thing, but April is a whole nother series of numerologies, and one of them in the middle of the month is rather interesting. So let's really monkey with the economy and everything that has to get in. This isn't Christmas. Everything that's got to be in the mail by a certain day to be somewhere by a certain time, because somebody's not going to have a temper tantrum and cry. They're going to get mad and, send the goon squad after you. They do not do that in the United States. Isn't it interesting, even those conspiracy theory stories back in the day when the IRS started fortifying their buildings and buying shotguns? That cannot be true. God, I hope not. I hope I made that up. President Joe Biden has a problem with $4 a gallon and $130 a barrel oil gas and oil. President Obama does not have one much longer, because under his administration it was either $148.50 or $149.50. Universal, because of the crisis and the meltdown and the financial scandal. Yeah, and here you can have Bernie Madoff and Martha Stewart, and the rest of the people are still running amok, and now they're children. Um, I don't feel well. I went down 8 tangents and didn't tell one goddamn story. Follow through. Because I don't want to do this anymore. This has been horribly uncomfortable. Um, we are being led down a path of less and less money, more and more control, more and more regulations, sanctions, where it's all going to be good to pay for someone else's freedom. It'll feel good for you. This is part of conditioning. Adam Carolla calls it crate training. There's, others, a little dirtier language. The Great Reset, Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, was all about getting us to have nothing and like it. And this is the training. This is the preconditioning. The telegraphing of what's next to come. We're going to see $6 a gallon national gas average by Memorial Day. God, I hope that was right in Labor Day. No. See, because we know what happens at $5 a gallon when the economy was booming under Bush and then into Obama. Oh, the economy was booming before COVID. Yeah, and we pumped all that money and watch it all come back. Yeah, all the record losses. Nobody's losing money. They're all making money. You and I are the ones suffering. It is us against them. There's very few of them, but they're all in control because we've all mutually agreed in the international courts. And even if we all agree to boycott Russian oil, it may not that be. What if everybody doesn't? And what if the international court says, oh, you're giving credit, and international courts don't apply in the United States? Go read your little document you want to shred. During COVID, we had to put a mask on it. The international courts you want to bring Putin to for war crimes, but you may claim, why? Giving a credibility. Well, see, I mean, even they were right. The international court refused to allow our inability for the sanctions to be. Why? Because you're not allowed to do that. You know better, and you haven't got to tell. Well, I wish I made more sense to all of you, but I don't. Diary of a Madman. I wish it were. It'd be easy to explain that way. That how do we squeeze all the money back? We just raise their prices on everything. Because there could be supply chain issues because of the sanctions on Russia and the war in Ukraine. There could be supply chain. Oh, you mean more and worse? Well, we've had them now. Here's the new line in the media. Still struggling with the adverse deadly effects of the Omicron variant and COVID. COVID entering its 3rd year. It just celebrated its anniversary. It celebrated its anniversary? Yes, celebrating its 2nd anniversary. We enter a 3rd year of COVID. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We warned you. You thought we were all nuts. Get them off the internet. They can't talk anymore. No. When do we place our bets on Taiwan? What will the price tag have to be for that? So if it is March 6, 2022, and 1.5 million people have fled Ukraine in 10 days. Again, the Polish numbers are right. Okay, that one, those are, they're good. Okay, yep, nope, okay, come on. We're at 700,000 and growing in Poland because it's part of only, but they're not all state, but oh my God. The sheer number in my head for just 30 days out is scary because I fear what will escalate that is the escalation of shelling and few missiles. I'm tired of hearing the Western media say, and a cruise missile did. No, see, okay. Cruise missiles are ours. The U.S.'s, the West. Vladimir Putin and the Russian army does not have cruise missiles. They have weaponry that is similar and perhaps stolen by design, but they're Russian cruise missiles. They're not cruise missiles. You're irresponsible when you say that. And, you know, tomahawk, I think, is a little sexier. That's what a tomahawk is. Ooh, yeah. Not seeing a lot of that. Seeing still the fighter jets and the fighter bombers. Low level, strafing, scare them, rattle, and drop gravity bombs. They're not smart bombs. The West is used to smart bombs and smart technology and sterile and clean and swift and what if and the horror of, oh my God, it could. We can't ever allow that to happen again. That narrative has allowed us to get here to the point where the world argues while a portion of it burns, and those who've not necessarily conspired but have been partial and principal members of the international community and experts in, foreign intelligence, they've been around long enough to know this isn't how this works. So this isn't incompetence at the White House, and incompetence at the United Nations, and incompetence at NATO, and it sure as hell isn't incompetence in the European Union. It gives more and more credence or credit that this might be by design. And then you look at the Great Reset, and you look at Bilderberg, and you look at Davos. Maybe you'll give me another look tomorrow night. It's going to be a long Monday, a lot of headlines. They're now already starting in the overnight, because when I get off now, here goes my day. We'll stay up through 5 a.m. Mountain Time. So if you have a question you want to comment once the video posts, please do. Contact me on Twitter, the Scooter McGee. Find me on Facebook. Add me as a friend. Follow the show, the Scooter McGee Show on Facebook. Or support it on Twitter, on Patreon, just Scooter McGee on Patreon. And I'll see you tomorrow night, 1 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Kiev, 3 p.m. Tokyo, 10 p.m. Pacific time. Good night, everybody.